All right, ladies. So what we're going to do is that we're going to wrap up Puerto Rico. We did Puerto Rico yesterday, and I want you to turn to the last slide, the very last slide. And what we did was that we looked at the history of Puerto Rico, how Puerto Rico became a U.S. territory. We looked at the reasons the United States was interested in Puerto Rico, why they were actually interested in Puerto Rico, and why Puerto Rican, yes, we looked at the reason. Which reason we looked at yesterday, the main one, the geographical reason, then we look at which is what? Border, which is security, which falls under geographical also. Another reason would have been trade and investment, yes. So these are some of the reasons they were interested. And then why Puerto Rican accepted U.S. rule, the labor laws. So that is labor law, and then they said religious freedom, and then they mentioned citizenship. Yes, everybody loves the U.S. passport, right? Yes, so everybody, once you can, it's not the most powerful passport in the world, but it is a very powerful passport, right? I think the most powerful passport based on the last ranking is, I think UK is in the top 5. I think either Japan. Yes, I think is Japan. But the most powerful passport in the Caribbean is Barbados, Bahamas. Jamaica will never get yes. It's Germany. So I think it's Japan, the new ranking, Japan is how much? Japan comes. This is a US the way down bottom. Yes. And also, do you realize that how they rank passport is very racist? In the sense that all the white countries are ranked at the top, and the African countries and the Caribbean countries and the Latin American countries are at the bottom. Yes. So now, ladies, so we also look at why Puerto Rico, I can't wear this and this at the same all right, wait, ladies. So we looked at also why Puerto Rico accept the U.S. rule, and also they were benefiting in terms of social services. And another reason why they benefit, well, they had a lot of benefits, right? They had the health benefit, the educational benefits, the economic benefits, and religious. And we look also at some of the challenges when it comes to U.S. rule in Puerto Rico. And then we are turning now to the last slide, which is the Falklands Act. Now, yesterday we said in the citizenship, they received US citizenship in 1917. And 1917 is the Jones Act, right? Now, there are several different acts that came into being during that time. And the 1947 Act, the US granted Puerto Rico the right to elect their own governor. So that was the first time. So from 1898 to 1900, so from 1898 to 1900, they used the military to rule Puerto Rico. All right? Then from 1900 to around 1947, the US, what they did was that they appointed a governor who was not a military personnel. All right? And then in 1947, well, in 1940, during this period, it was the first time that the US appointed a Puerto Rican to be governor. You understanding what is going on? So this was the first time a Puerto Rican was appointed. So between 1940 to 1947, a Puerto Rican was governor. That means they were appointed. During all of this time, Puerto Ricans could not vote for their governor. But in 1947, until today, Puerto Ricans are able to vote for their governor. The person who is going to I'm not seeing her. The person who is going to basically administer the colony. You following, ladies? So this person, the governor is the one who controls the colony and run the colony of Puerto Rico. US, they don't like to use the word colony. They don't like the word colony, right? And it's a reason why they don't like to use the word colony. Because remember, they fought against Britain when they were colonial colonies of Britain, 13 colonies of Britain. And so for them, they see the word colony as a bad word. Yes. But so what we have used now is that it's the same thing. It means the very same thing. Instead of saying the US was a colonial power, we say that they were an imperial power. Colonialism and imperialism, if you're going to the exam, colonialism and imperialism is the very same word. It is like this, it is like you said, give me a synonym or something. Like you said, banater. Very good. So imperialism, colonialism, very same thing. All right? So that is one thing you need to know. Now, in the timeline, good. In the timeline, in 1950, right? President Truman signs the Puerto Rican Commonwealth Bill, paving the way for a Puerto Rican constitution. Nationalists oppose the new law and resort to violence. So there are times where Puerto Ricans did not agree with US rule. From as early as 1898 to today, you have Puerto Ricans who are against the United States ruling their territory. These persons who are against the United States leadership, they're called nationalists. Nationalists. They are against the U.S. rule. Yes. You could call them patriots also, but the nationalists, they believe that they are a country and they have their own rule. They should have their own rules. Yes. Yes. So like us, we are, some of us are not, well, some of us here are nationalists. Who, me? Then, because Puerto Ricans were basically, you have a lot of nationalists in the well, that emerged in the 1950s, and they were against the United States rule. So one, why they were against the US? One, US were basically the United States was forcing them to accept English as an official language. The US controlled most of the economy and the investments there. Yeah, that is true. And so what we have now, or we can put that now, is to say that the Puerto Ricans, especially when it comes to control of investment, most of the persons who have the big positions in the company, they are Puerto Rican, well, American, white Americans, right? Another reason they were against US rule was that the education system was very US. Now, education system is supposed to brainwash you, right? So right now we are brainwashing you, right? So that is the purpose of the education system, to brainwash you that all of us think the same way. Now, 1, 2, 3. The education system in Puerto Rico, all the books was in English at the time. But another thing, another thing, why the education system, so every day when they come to school and they sing the national anthem, it's for you to feel patriotic and be a part of a nation. And they had to force them, well, they are forcing Puerto Ricans to sing the US national anthem. In addition, instead of learning about the history of Puerto Rico, you're learning about the history and the geography of the US. Yes, go ahead. Sir, I was just saying. Oh, sorry about that. Go ahead, Angela. It wasn't that all the books were in English, right? They were forcing them to accept English. So they were translating, not translating, they were basically in the schools, they were sending a lot of English books. Yeah, that's the point I made. So that means the education system being forced, so there's a language barrier, and you can't study what you can't understand. That is true. And then, go ahead for me, Thor. I was saying that yes. It's just the other day, apartheid is still going on in South Africa. Yeah? There is.
Yeah, I one thing I tried to do was the fact that at one point white people came in, national white came in, and they turned South Africa white country and black were suffering. So let's remember that thing where when blacks come into South Africa, they go to free for white African black. And I'm very surprised. That's why you were in the
I'm not saying I don't rate him, but I think he should have done more to alleviate the issues for the blacks in South Africa. But wait, ladies, remember we have a syllabus to finish, you know. 1997 past paper is the one that, where it is? No, the one at the very bottom is in 1997. Number 17 is 1997. They are not there. I'm not seeing her here. She's their participant, nobody to accept. Okay. Okay, good. So question 17 is 1997.
No, that's the year.
The next one is 2000. 2000 is question 18. And 2007 is question 15. Now, ladies, these are the 3 times that CT asks about Puerto Rico in the exam, right? From 1996 until now. Huh? 2007. Yeah. Now, let us look at 1997. So we don't have to read the extracts, just read the first question, A.
How did the United States come to own Puerto Rico?
How would you answer that in the exam? It's 2 marks, but how the United States own? Go ahead, come in. Just 2 marks in a thought. But I know you're not answering. You're not going to get the 2 marks for that. You, Austin. Okay. No. Yes.
United States acquired Puerto Rico through 12 provinces of Brazil and something else, or just matter.
You still not get the marks. No, ladies, go to your PowerPoint. Please go to the PowerPoint. I come in, Emmys. Go to the PowerPoint. I sent the PowerPoint to you. Right? So, what event, Emmys, go ahead. Very good, excellent. Right? So ladies, on your paper right now, the answer is the Treaty of Paris 1898. Under the Treaty of Paris, 1898. And the Treaty of Paris marked the end of the good. Yes, but you have to mention the Treaty of Paris. They would give you 1 mark for that. But the Treaty of Paris is what? Because remember, Spain owned Puerto Rico before, and it was the end of the war that Spain agreed to give the United States Puerto Rico under the Treaty of Paris. Yes. Apart from the Treaty of Paris, is there anything else? That's all they need. You don't need nothing else. Just 2 marks. Yes, you could also mention that. Very good. Now the next question is 17B. What are some of the benefits? And I don't want you to just list benefits. Just like that. Remember, look at it. It is 13 marks. So you must feel something. Go ahead for me. If you see a 13 marks question, it is always good to give 3 to 4 points. 3 solid is good. But if you give 4, you're gone clear. Now, how are you going to look at this question? One of the main reasons why so you look at health, benefits. Then after that, you say you're going to look at so you said health, then economic, then I would not use political. Religion, you could use as religious. Education. Now, if you look at the PowerPoint under benefits, then you will see for sure how to, the evidence are there. So if we're going to look at health benefits, so we are discussing health. So we can look at the sanitation programs there. What else? Mass vaccination. What else? Building hospitals, they build clinics. Ladies, 1 second for me. You see, all of that you just mentioned, you put it in the peel as the example and you explain how it is a benefit. So you just don't write and say that one health benefit is that they build hospitals, right? And you leave, you can expect to get full marks. No, you can't get full marks for that. In the US, yeah, man, same thing. They did this very same thing. Vaccination against malaria and yellow fever. And they also build some clinics and hospitals. They do the same thing everywhere. Go on. Yes. Yes. That is one way of putting it. Because if you build hospital or clinics, that means there's going to be more access to health care. All right? So all you have to do, ladies, you're following this paper? Hemmings, Trisel, senior concern, following. Now, this is how you peel a question. You say you're going to peel health, peel education, peel religion, and peel economics, right? How would you go about the economics? 1 second, let us see if somebody online can. Who online want to answer that question? How would you peel economics? Go ahead for me, Lawrence.
Okay, so Sarah, for the first point, can you hear me?
Yes, we are hearing you.
For the first point, you could put that most of the U.S. manufactured goods, well, not most, but some of their manufactured goods, like they would like give it to the Puerto Rican market, so they had manufactured goods in Puerto Rico and like other goods from the U.S. So that was
Yes. All right, yes. So that is one way you could look at economics. They have access to US goods, and also the US has access to their goods, to Puerto Rican goods. Now, another part of, thank you very much, Lawrence, 17C. Go ahead for me. (1933). Notice the year 1933. Look at the problems that we have here. So, Emmy first and then go ahead. No occupation, meaning that they are still there, not military, meaning that they settle there and control there.
So that's not occupation and so like military and police control.
Go ahead for me, Emmy. The disadvantage is yeah. So you find, so you say poverty is one issue. How would you explain it? All right. Tell me about a little bit. Poverty is one. Then you have to explain it. You can't tell the examiner about say poverty is one. You have to tell the examiner how poverty was linked. Go ahead and then. You, 1, 2. You, Bartley.
Your course access English and official language.
Yes.
Textbooks were, the national anthem was taught.
Yes.
The textbooks were used very good.
Mm-hmm.
And they like the culture.
But how you feel all of that?
At first, they that. Disadvantage that portion of it as a result of occupation and next thing was cultural problem. Because
that is a good way of putting it.
And then I say examples of this are districts where there were English was now the unofficial language, they were forced to recite the US anthem, and textbooks they used it were sent into the US. Right?
Yes.
And then I explain how so I said this all contributed to this meant that Jesus. I explained it, sir, and then many of the rich, diverse, cultural groups are critical to them becoming the culture and the not political.
All right, very good. You have a. Go ahead for me. They got menial jobs, yes. It is, you could use discrimination as a broad point because and they use the evidence that they got the menial jobs and there was no fairness when it comes to like the top positions in the American companies. It's like you're a second-class citizen on your own land. So you could use discrimination as one of it. And then also to support discrimination, you could also mention that Black Puerto Ricans they could not go into the hotels and they didn't give them some of the, well, they couldn't work at front decks and these different places. So that is good. You see, that's what I'm trying to say. Anywhere Americans go, it is the same thing. Americans do not change. Americans are the same people from 1776 until now. The Americans are the same. They don't change. Look at Trump. Trump is a perfect example of all of this. Right? Now, ladies, you could also look at I like how you look at discrimination by itself, but also another disadvantage you could look at is prostitution. It is a very strong point. Yes. Find jobs, so you could link prostitution. But also, I believe that you could develop prostitution by itself as a point. Yes. Yeah, that is another way you could. No, ladies, if you look at my PowerPoint, I look at it at cultural problems, social problems, economic, and also political problems, right? So that's another way you could peel it, because the point is there, and then I give the evidence. It's just for you now to explain. Now, a political problem is that once the Americans took over, they excluded Puerto Ricans from the political process, meaning that from 1898 to 1900, it was a military rule, and from 1900 to 1947, the U.S. just appointed an American citizen to be the governor. Just like what they said, Papia here, to be governor. They always send some those people to become ambassadors. And so, look at this now, ladies. So, they were excluded. They are following the Jackson. So, if you're giving the exam after what is one disadvantage is political. The Puerto Ricans did not have control for their political future. Examples, between 1898 and 1900, there are military rule by the US, and between 1900 to 1947, the US appointed their governor. So they could not elect who they want to govern their affairs.
The main thing that's why Puerto Ricans are experiencing such effort with honorary promise. So the U.S. has promised to they have promised to make their democracy, treated fairly and they continue to sustain well. However, the opposite of that happened. So they that we're doing that happens their whole
you can answer once you can get your full peel for at least 3 points, then that is good. Because, repeat? No, it is not. All right. These, you see, if it is a 25 marks essay, you need introduction and conclusion. These are short answers essay. Well, these are short answer in history. So you really don't, you just need maybe 1 line or 2 lines as intro. All right? But you don't need a full intro. The next thing, if you look at 2007, which is 15 on the paper, the first question is about Puerto Rico. And somebody read it for me, please. Affected. So it is, remember now, it can affect them in a positive way and a negative way. So you could discuss 2 benefits and 2 positives. Sorry, 2 benefits and 2 negatives, right? A Puerto Rican rule in it. You could say, as the intro could say, you could say for this question, the U.S. occupation of Puerto Rico had both negative and positive effects on Puerto Rico. 2 benefits, you peel 2 benefits, you peel 2. Go ahead.
Because the United States was investing and so provide like food stamps for Puerto Rico.
But we just go through that. Are the same question? Yeah, man. Food security could be one, and food security you could use it as a benefit on the economy, right? As a supporting evidence on the economy, because they have larger access to United States goods, which provides some form of security. That is one way of developing the point. 18. B is about Panama. Yes, tell me about, but you can't just say the thing. What was the thing?
Okay, so because the United States was able to protect their island.
Not Ireland.
Their country.
The mainland.
Yeah, the mainland, so they were able to police the Caribbean Sea to ensure that no other colonies from
no enemies. Yeah. So very good, very good. You answered the question, right? Just need to fix up the wording, but you answered. Go ahead. Yes. Mm-hmm. Protect American ships traveling through the Caribbean Sea. Good, and you answer the question, you answer the why. And a part of the why is that America loves to create a lot of enemies. And so they have a lot of enemies, and so they are always fearful. Good. Now, another one of the is 18B. What is 18B? No. Reasons, interest. So apart from the geographic reason, because all they just talked about now was the geographic reasons. Apart from that, what other reason? Good. Yes. What else? And get labor, cheap labor. Good. They're also very good, excellent. They? How would you talk about it?
And hold everything. So like
but would a manifest destiny link to geography? There? What about the neighboring islands? I don't. Yeah. Husband. Yes, that is one way you could also look at it. Question C, 18C ladies, outline the benefits that Puerto Rican gain from being under the US. 18C is the same thing as 17B, and also 15, part of 15A. And then the next question, explain why some Puerto Ricans objected to Puerto Rico being under the control of the US. I remove this. So you look at the disadvantage and you look at the role of the nationalist ladies. These here is the 3 times that the US, well, remember the US CXC would have asked about Puerto Rico. All right, you can. Oh, this one? This one is CXD about Cuba, the question about Cuba. Oh, I'm going to send it to you. Cuba. That's why we spend a lot of time. Sometimes Grenada, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic. So ladies, all right, ladies online, see you next week, Monday, when we are going to look at Panama.